Lovely with a touch of cynicism.
Hold on a minute.
Andre, you're recording and you're live on YouTube.
What did she say? What did she say?
I said that you're recording and you're live on YouTube. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I noticed. Thank you.
And Melly, are we loud enough here?
Yes, we can hear you.
All right. Let me just get my get my emails up. Yeah.
Neither of us want to know.
All right. All right. Don't sit in McComb's seat. Don't sit in Bill McComb's seat.
We're on YouTube.
Bill McCombs sits there.
Sits in the back row.
All right.
All righty.
Ready?
Yeah.
All right. Anybody else out there? All right. Good evening, everybody. Thanks for coming. It's nice to be back in town hall. It's the New Shoreham Town Council agenda for Monday, July 19th, 2021 at 7 p.m. The New Shoreham Town Council is meeting in person at Town Hall, 16 Old Town Road, Block Island. Public access will be via Zoom pursuant to State of Rhode Island Executive Order 20-46 dated June 12th, 2020 as amended. If you have Zoom access, you can dial toll free on your cellular. The phone numbers are on the agenda. And I just want to remind everybody that we do not have the bandwidth to support a video link for members of the general public. So to participate, if you raise your hand on your phone by pressing *9 and mute and unmute by pressing *6. Supporting documents for the items on the agenda are located on Clerkbase, and that hot link is on the agenda. With that being said, item number 1 on the agenda is an update from Dr. Warkup, Block Island Health Services Director. It's Dr. Warkup.
From now on, you just hit your microphone.
Need to what?
Hit your microphone on.
But not right now.
When you're talking.
Okay. Tom? He's muted.
Thank you. Can you hear me fine?
Thanks, Tom. Yes.
Thank you. I just want to give a mask update and hello to everyone. Some of the current requirements are that if you're not fully vaccinated, the Department of Health does recommend that you continue to wear a mask indoors if you're near anyone that you are not living with, or if you're outdoors in crowded places or during activities with close contacts with other individuals that are not fully vaccinated. And close contact, again, means that within 6 feet of someone with COVID-19 for more than 15 minutes in a 24-hour period. But fully vaccinated is also defined as if you've gotten all your recommended vaccines that are US approved by the US FDA and the World Health Organization, and more than 14 days have passed since that vaccine. The reason I wanted to make that clarification was that the Rhode Island Department of Health sequences coronavirus variants on a weekly basis and reports them out. As of their July 12th reporting period, they've done 4,099 COVID variants. And by far and away, the B117 alpha variant, or used to be called the UK variant, is the most dominant in our area with 31.8% of all variants identified. There's been a lot of discussion in the national media about the Delta variant, but of those 4,099 samples, only 14 have been identified as the Delta variant in our state. So 14 out of 4,099 equaling 0.3%. Please take note that when you see it in the news, they report it out as variants per 1,000. They don't give you the raw number like one I just stated, which is 14 out of the 4,099. Our New Shoreham virus detection period has shown an uptick in detection over the past 2 reporting periods. And these reports and levels are similar to what we had in March. Our biggest time frame was in November and December of 2020, but we definitely have seen a significant uptick. So it is in our community, so please be safe. Last week, the medical center, in conjunction with the DMAT EMS team, had detected 4 individuals with coronavirus, and one of those individuals actually had contracted the disease after being fully vaccinated. That individual will have very mild symptomatology, but they can still shed the virus in the community. We counseled them and their family, and I think that's not an issue for us. But it illustrates to me that it's on our island through the sewage detection. We are starting to see it. So please be safe. The CDC has reported out that antibodies generated from the Moderna, Pfizer, and Johnson & Johnson is protective against these variants. And so if you are still inclined, remember that Tuesdays and Thursdays at the Fire Barn, they do rapid and PCR testing, and you can get vaccinations. Please sign up through Rhode Island, vaccinateri.org, vaccinateri.org.
Thanks, Tom. Council, have any questions?
Tom, this is Sven. I know Lars, you and Lars had talked, and he was writing to the chamber members all at the big hotels where there's different foreign students and a lot of congregate living. Do you know if letters went out? Have we seen any response of vaccinations of folks working at hotels, or has it been too recent?
It's been too recent. I felt compelled to reach out to Lars and leadership on Tuesday when we had the spike. Lars did recently put something out to chamber proprietors and chamber members. It's been too early to see whether or not that'll translate into action this week.
Thank you.
Anybody else?
I have something to say, but it's not on the subject of this issue we're talking about now. So when we're all done with that, I have something to say.
Okay. Anybody have any comments for the doctor?
Thank you, everybody at the medical center, for all the great work they're doing, and we hope the fundraising effort went well.
It did. Thank you very much. Be safe.
Thanks, Doc. Much appreciated.
That's good time. Dr. Workup?
Oh,
I'm here.
Dr. Walker, you still?
Yeah.
Mark has a question for you.
We're big on data this year. And the medical center could really help us out, I believe. And that is acquiring data from the victims of moped injuries or bike injuries, but more so moped injuries. If you could take some kind of simple, quick exit survey from either the victim or the family on just what was involved with that particular accident. For example, a quick question like your experience on a moped would be extremely helpful. Another quick, simple question on how elaborate or short or inadequate their training might have been. Again, so we can address what the problems might be in order to correct them. Is that something that you guys could do, or is it too cumbersome considering the fact that you turn into somewhat of a MASH unit in the summer months?
Doctor, I want to remind you that that's not an agenda topic and you do not have to answer that, but if you want to, you can.
We're happy to help. We can stay consistent with the after action report that we reported out over the last 4 years.
Doctor, first of all, it says update, okay? So it doesn't say specifically for any particular reason. And no one has more respect for you, Dr. Workup, or the medical center. So if you don't feel comfortable answering, that's fine.
We've been using a standard form like an after action report that we've been acquiring for 4 years. It's certainly publicly known that we presented some of that data last year. We'll continue to do so. And many of the data points that you asked for will be on that form.
Super, thank you.
Andre, can I ask one thing?
Go ahead.
Dr. Walker, I just want to make sure with with the town manager that, as I've said many times, data management is so important, and I just want to make sure it's being recorded consistently and cataloged in a consistent way, because where data falls apart is when we got great ideas for a month and then we change a little bit and change a little, and you keep changing it. Next thing you know, what was a horse turned into a cow. And so I just want to make sure that it goes through the town and is collected. To your point, if we're going to ever want that data and use that data, let's make sure it's really buttoned up. And I think it's a very good plan. So as long as the town manager is coordinating it. Great.
Understood.
Thank you, Dr. Workup. Anybody else? See if there's any attendees in there. I don't see any more questions for the doctor or comments. Item number 2, discuss an act on the July 12th, 2021 communication from John Goodman, Assistant Vice President of Media and Public Relations, Rhode Island Airport Corporation. Discuss an act on comments received regarding the Rhode Island Airport, Rhode Island Regional Airports, as well as the Rhode Island Airport Corporation's request for proposal regarding Block Island Airport property development. Sven, I wasn't here at last meeting. I'm just wondering if you want to recap or
Sure.
see which direction that went.
Yep, my pleasure, Andre, and I'm glad you're back, so thank you.
Thank you.
Couple of things, just real briefly, and a number of people, we were on the phone or in the meeting at the last time. We've had 2, what I'm gonna call good discussions. They were courteous and brief, and I think to the points, everywhere from the Block Island Conservancy to RIAC to the aviation group that Henry talks through, Jack Kramer, Mr. Villa, et cetera. I mean, just a good representation. I think that's all been captured. I'm going to sort of blend right now points 2 and points 3, which is on a resolution. I believe Marianne has been working on a letter to Mr. Goodman based on all of our feedback. I know Keith's been working with her on some feedback. What I believe we discussed at the last meeting, and actually I know we discussed the last meeting, is that the town council wanted to write a letter, not necessarily in response to Mr. Goodman, but rather a letter about the council's feeling on RIAC. And that would address and include Mr. Goodman's questions. There were a list of questions in there. But also we discussed the need or the desire to have a resolution so that our senator and our representative could use that as needed. So sort of points 2 and 3, I believe the town manager has been, I know the town manager has been working on. I think a number of us have given her information and I defer to the town manager on next steps.
Thank you, Sven. Thank you, Sven. Council, have any comments?
Is this a situation where we would sort of pre-endorse the action? You know, in other words, I just wonder whether I prefer if we're going to do. Sorry about that. If we're going to do I'd like to do both things that you described, but I'd like to avoid having to come back for votes, and putting it off, for another few weeks. Just curious about the process.
Go, Sven.
My gut would say, my hope would be that if we want to review some points now, we can. I would hope that we can authorize the town manager to write a letter, and I hope that we can authorize the town manager to write the resolution based on our direction and feedback. And my hope would be that we can do that tonight for a review maybe by the council, but not authorization or approval. I'd like to move on. And I think we're all on the same page, honestly. So I don't think there's a whole lot of huge debate, personally, based on the feedback I've heard.
Yeah, I can get something put together this week and send it out to the council prior to sending it out to Ryan for one more quick review. And then
That's great. I was not objecting to the approach. I was just saying it would be great if we don't have to renotice something and then put it on an agenda and then vote on it. I think there's virtual unanimity in the community about this. So.
And you have the letter from the Nature Conservancy.
I do.
Okay. Thank you, Nancy. I think you finally got that to us. I was beginning to think it didn't exist. I would hope in the future when people start referencing things, we'd actually have the documents. There's some information out last week, but I don't think that's going to be repeated. So we're okay on that one.
If I can make a suggestion to the town manager, I think it would be great in the letter we're obviously going to state our facts. I think we've all talked about it enough, so we don't need to rehash it. I'd love to have an addendum, including all the letters from representatives of people on Black Island. So whoever sent them, I'd like to include them as just an addendum, and that RIAC would see that there is sort of this overwhelming. I think it was at one point, Keith at the last meeting stated very clearly when somebody from RIAC had said, oh, well, there's, people who want to shut the airport down, there's people who want to do this, there seems to be a debate, and Keith's like, there's absolutely no debate. There's clear unanimity among the flagpoles. So I think it would help, including all the letters. If somebody has said, hey, we want to shut the airport down, that should be in there, but I have never seen that letter. So that would help, just evidence. Thank you.
Okay. My only concern, I'm sorry, I didn't turn my mic off. My only concern with that is that, again, there was some misinformation about what land used to, and I know this is kind of stuff only Martha brings up, but sorry. The land that belonged to the Nathan Mott Park, that never belonged to the Nathan Mott Park, it was part of the estate of Lucretia Mott Ball. And it was just they were just technical. I hate to send things along that are inaccurate. I don't like making those part of our record when we know better. That's the only thing that bothers me. So that's why I'm very glad to have in hand, finally, again, thank you, Nancy, the TNC document that I certainly would want to include that.
Can you say what that is for people?
This is the memorandum of understanding is a non-binding, renewable every year. I'm not going to be able to find this. Probably.
Here I have.
Thank you.
Right.
Thank you, Sven. You brought. Thank you, Andre. I had it right here in front of me all the time.
That's why I'm sitting here.
And it was done back in 1999 when John Schaefer was still alive. And this was about the Blazing Star and the berry beetle on the primarily it's a southern portion of the original airport property. And there's an agreement about development, fencing, mowing, not what level of disturbance. And I believe that's, we don't have anybody here from TNC, do we? I believe that's still in place.
Thank you,
It
Martha.
does at least speak to the validity of the statements that were made, that this is a recognized, that was signed by TNC in Arlington, I believe it is. So we know it's it's not just the hearsay of we thought there was something somewhere that nobody has their hands on. It's good to have material like that. Thank you.
Thank you, Martha.
Am I not speaking up?
We're getting a little feedback from the public that the Zoom participants are having difficulty hearing you.
Hearing.
Martha or everyone?
No, the others is fine, the other ones. Martha?
That may be the way I haven't, if I talk like this, it'll probably be fine. I feel like I'm
Yes, that was much.
asking everybody out the room.
Sounds like a KISS concert.
I wasn't going to say that.
Yes. Is that better? Hello? Hello? That's better.
Could be a
Thank
minute.
you. Thank you.
You all set? So we're pretty much at having Marianne craft a letter, a draft letter responding to John Goodman's letter dated July 12th. Is that what we're saying here?
Actually, is it worth to make a motion on this, Marianne, to approve a letter? Because I actually don't want it to be in response to John Goodman or to RIAC. I'd rather it be a letter from the town of Shoreham to RIAC, directing them on our opinions and desires. That's my personal opinion. And we'll, of course, include all of Mr. Goodman's questions.
But do we want to specifically state the reaction to the, I would say, particular uses on the land across Central Road and the southern part of the airport property? And the other two lots, I think we've talked about in terms of simply aviation related.
Right, so I would hope, at least in my opinion, is about, there's a mention about parking, there's a mention about long-term parking, there's a mention about non-aviation uses and aviation uses, and covering those cited lots, quote unquote, the bid lots, BID, and that it gives clear direction on all of that, which we've discussed for 2 meetings. So I hope I know it's gonna talk about all of those, but I guess I just don't want to respond. I want it to be a letter of direction from the town versus a response to a riot letter. And maybe it's a nuance and maybe it's silly, but I guess it's my point of view.
Yeah, my only concern was, I didn't want to respond directly, but I did want to acknowledge that we were addressing questions that he had asked, because I don't want them to be able to say, oh, you didn't respond to us.
Yep.
That's really important.
Okay.
Thank you, Martha.
Yeah,
Thank you, Martha.
that was my only concern. They sent us half a dozen questions. I'm comfortable addressing those questions tonight, or is it a consensus? We don't even have to spend the time to do it. It'll be taken care of in that letter or in that resolution.
Based on the 2 meetings, my feeling is that we reached consensus on all 6 questions, and we pretty much said, yeah, we were pretty clear. At least I felt we were very clear, and I believe we're clear. And as the town manager said, we'll see a draft of that letter prior to it being sent, but I have no doubt how it's going to be written. So that's my feeling.
And I did read, go ahead, Rick. Go ahead.
Yeah, yes, good up the microphone. And you have to switch on the button on the top, very top. There should be a green.
Hello?
I think you got it.
Speak up.
Rick Phillip, Beacon Hill Road. I would perhaps propose, because this is such a shotgun letter from RIAC covering a multitude of issues, 6 of them in particular.
I mean,
And
you should be able to.
Is Rick on?
So,
Wait, Rick, hold on.
Is Rick on?
Excuse me, we cannot hear Rick very well. Can he lean into the mic a little bit?
Hello?
Yep, much better.
All right.
There you go.
Can you hear that?
Can you ask Rick to say a little something?
I'll start all over again.
It's mildly better, Rick. Can you lean in a bit?
Well,
Is he behind it?
No, I'm gonna go a parallel to it. This is what it's gonna be.
this is ridiculous.
Go ahead.
1, 2,
Are we,
is that better?
I feel like
That was a little better.
nothing else. It's like he's eating it's like he's eating an ice cream cone. It's like he's eating.
Andre's coming through.
Oh. My microphone's not
We're
on.
just being admonished, just
Andre, I think your microphone's on your computer.
Oh, how about that?
you should be able to hear me
So
then.
take back what you just said.
Everyone is muted now. No sound at all. Still nothing. Can't hear you.
Okay, let me see what he said that, all right. I got it. I mean, I've asked him. Andre's computer, yeah, and now he's got it.
Did you check that Jack thing?
Sven was on.
Can you unmute Andre?
Well, I don't understand why I'm asking him to unmute and he's
He's trying. It says he can't unmute. Host has to unmute.
change the.
Well, he's unmuted now. Somebody's unmuted.
Now, I've got him allowed to unmute. I don't understand what's going on with that. I'm sorry. I mean, it looks like he's unmuted now. Wait a second.
Yeah, ask him to say.
I'm time, okay?
Andre, would you try testing, please?
Testing 1, 2, how's that?
She wanted me to do a test on my microphone. Yeah, that's not good.
See if that works.
His microphone is working. It's just,
Yeah.
His computer is a problem.
How does this work?
I think,
Go better.
oh, you sound great.
Testing 1, 2 on Keith's microphone.
Is Keith muted?
Don't turn it on.
No, I'm not,
Oh, God, yeah, I'm not on the.
I mean, that was kind of a question out in this room.
I'm not touching anything.
Well, I'm not really, I'm not hearing anything.
That might have done.
Come on. Now what? That microphone, yeah.
Yeah. It's a song we don't want to come through the computer. We want to come through the microphone.
Testing 1, 2. Good. Good. So,
Did you forget what you were gonna say? I don't want to say a word. I'm not saying a word.
Well, they had buckshot, I got that.
Buckshot.
So, Rick Hill, Beacon Hill Road, this is a very long letter from Ryan addressing a number of issues. And item number 3, I think, is the most pressing from all the feedback and conversations that we've had. So a possible solution to this is to separate these issues out and have a town council resolution, particularly opposing item number 3 for the various reasons that have been documented in the last 2 meetings. And then move on with items 1, 2, 4, 5, and 6, and an additional letter, because they're so broad-based. I think we might get lost in all of the detail and minutia and not address separately item number 3.
Thank you. Comments?
So I have a question. Marion, do you anticipate that your letter will be roughly similar to what, you know, the sort of subjects, the subjects that Sven and I sent you this week?
Yes.
So you think it would be worthwhile just to take a minute and say that we hit on all of those things? I'm just for the public. I mean, to your point, Rick, we have been working on a draft all week. It hits on all of the points, and it actually moves number 3 up to the first thing that we talked about. And in fact, my preference was to urge RIAC to take particularly those 2 pieces of property off the table before we even started really talking about the other substantive matters. Because I think we're at a point where we need a bit of a show of good faith from them on this. And to give them an out, not that they need one, but I just have a feeling as I looked through their website and saw the sort of carbon copy offerings for every general aviation airport in the state, that they basically took all of their properties, sent them to this commercial real estate firm, and set market these. That would be the only explanation for including parcels, whatever it is, 1 and 3, or I get mixed up about numbers, because it just, what with the federally endangered species would be tied up with the FAA for the next 25 years. I mean, I think no one in their right mind would actually spend time reviewing whatever included that parcel. So anyway, I think we make the point, we intend to make the point that you just made, and move that up to the being, our current. Is that fair? Okay, great. Just so people know that it's not going to be, dear Ryan, please, don't do this to us or something.
If you're ready.
Okay, so Marianne, if you're okay with it, I'd love to, and everybody else comment, but I'd love to make a motion, and I can close now. I'd love to make a motion that we direct the town manager to write a letter to RIAC, and a public letter that is addressed to RIAC, pertaining to all of the key comments from the last 2 meetings, and specifically addressing the 6 questions from RIAC. That's a motion.
Second.
Seconded by Andre. That was a joke. Go ahead.
What?
You're
I second.
Yeah.
You good?
Yeah.
I have no idea what was doing.
Neither do I.
Okay.
Comments?
Okay, I just wanted a clarification. The item that you spoke to about moving the Amazon property across
Yes.
Center Road and south side of the airport. And that's kind of sort of pull out and just get out of the way.
That's correct.
Okay, fine, I just want to be sure of that because I think that's important. Thank you.
That would be, sorry,
I don't want to just, don't be just.
bit brief.
Thank you.
So I hate to be small-minded about this, but to me, this letter should be sent to someone other than the Assistant Vice President for Media Relations at RIAC. This is, with all due respect to Mr. Goodman, I'm sure he's a bright and competent guy, but if one government agency is speaking to another, I think we ought to do it through more senior executives than a VP for Media Relations. Just
Thank you, Keith. And we are going to get a chance to, if I turn this on, is it going to get feedback? Yeah. All right. So,
Don't move the mic away from the computer. Use Marcus. Okay, use Marcus.
will my name pop up at the mouth? Just give me all the microphones. I forgot what I was going to say. This is ridiculous.
Will there be a problem?
Thank you, Keith, for those comments. And I think we're going to get back, we're going to get this letter back, and we can distribute it as we see fit. But I agree with those sentiments. Motion been made second. Is there any comments from the public? Henry?
Henry DuPont from Block Island. And I just wanted to point out that Mr. Goodman's letter has a bit of revisionist history in it. And I've been at all the RIAC meetings, not only here, but also on the mainland at their offices with Ed Roberge and with Jim Kern and with others. And also, I have attended a number of the other airport stakeholder meetings and other airports. So I know how RIAC operates with regard to getting public comment. And everyone knows that RIAC is working, they have a certain goal, they want to get more revenue out of Block Island. And as I said before, and that services that will benefit us, such as having an improved airport parking lot, which might have proper surface, might have security fencing, it might have something that people be willing to pay for, then that's something that's worth charging for. But to put in an app that charges people that go to the airport without any improvements in parking or removal of the abandoned vehicles doesn't provide any service to the community. With regard to all the other money-raising activities, revenue-raising that RIAC is planning or thought about, I've worked with RIAC staff for some 6 years now and gone through a long list of things that RIAC came up with and that we came up with that might work at the airport. And these, some of the ones that RIAC came up with, for example, was signage that wanted to put advertising on the fence all the way around the airport. And we pointed out that off-premises advertising is not allowed on Block Island, and it's in the residential area. They were thinking about mini golf, about farming, solar, and so we developed a list of all of these things. We ranked them, and then we wrote why they were a bad idea. And Ed Robert was especially on top of this, and he explained what the zoning ordinances were, that the airport's entirely in the residential area A zone. It's not near the commercial district on Block Island, and that all of these commercial schemes were not a great idea, and the town would oppose them. And lastly, Mr. Goodman's letter is full of the idea that certain people in Maryland are looking for airport expansion. Airport expansion means lengthening the runways so that jets can come in, or I don't know, that's about all I can think of that will increase the traffic to the airport. The things that the pilots are looking for, and then Rick and a number of the other island pilots will support this. Our airport is completely substandard. It only has 25 paved parking places for up to 100 planes that can land. And also asking for, and this is identified in the 2003 plan, and also in the 2005 airport layout plan, that a few more paid parking spots be offered so that when a plane lands at the airport, they don't have to taxi on gravel and on turf, where if the conditions aren't proper, you can damage the aircraft. Planes are not off-road vehicles. And in the old days, when you had unimproved airports with tail drivers and push pilots, that works fine. But now modern planes do not do well off pavement. So the plan to add 14 parking places south of the hangar, which has been in progress for 20 years, is not going to attract more noise, more traffic, more aircraft to the airport. It simply means that the island-based pilots and others will have a decent place to park their plane. And with that, one last point about that is BIC has no intention to provide that extended thing, parking area, even though it's in the master plan, or they wouldn't have advertised it with Cushman and Wakefield to do something else with it. That's an area we're trying to park planes there now. So with that, with the other question they had was about the island overlay district. Zoning is important to protect airports, and there's a lot of airports where without a zoning overlay, they built buildings up near the end of the runway, and they actually had to cause those runways to be displaced. And even though Block Island has been presented with a general plan to have an overlay district, it's not critical here, because if you're approaching the airport from the east for runway 28, there's a giant drop off there, and present zoning is completely sufficient to keep someone from building a building that will
that will enter into the interstate. And approaching from the east on Road 10, the LAC owns all of the approach area for a quarter of a mile at least out. And then beyond that, it's all conservation. So no one could build there if they wanted to. So even though the zoning overlay is to protect airports, is a good idea and I support it. And we haven't been pushing for it because it's just not a Block Island itself. It's just not job one compared to the other things that we do. And thank you very much for holding this hearing. It's very important. And we look forward to expressing these things.
Thank you, Henry.
I agree. If I can just make one comment, and Mary and I have talked about this. Henry is exactly right. We don't need to do the overlay. Where I think they would like to do, and I actually support the overlay, mostly because of what's happened in Westerly with trees. And it's a simple thing for us, I think. Maybe it'll take time and process and zoning. It's got to go through the normal structure, but the airport's a lifeline. And I think we on the island, and I think even the abutters would agree that we don't want trees to suddenly hinder anybody flying off in an emergency. And so I think to Henry's point, it's not been a push. I think it's something we should do. I think it's the right thing to do. So I support it, and I think we should say that in this letter, and then make it happen within the normal planning zoning cycle over the next year. But that's my personal point of view. So thank you.
Thank you.
I don't know the-
That's not gonna work. Thank you, Sven. Go ahead, Martha.
I don't know the answer to this, maybe Henry does, maybe somebody does, about trees. And I understand the East End of the runway, and that was, in 1961 property condemnation expansion, the original 1950 airport runway. The end of the West End, there's an extended agreement with Buckeye Conservancy for the park at least. Is that still in place? Isn't that still in place? Same thing?
That's my understanding.
Because I know those trees were taken down. And Block Island Conservancy was about to own the land. So, yeah, I just think Henry is very important. It's not pressing. If it's something that we have to have, so they can't come back and say, do this,
That's my
do it. But, let's not make it a big issue.
Thanks, Martha. Any more comments from the public? Motion made and seconded? All those in favor, Sven? Martha? Mark?
Aye.
I'm in favor. Keith?
Aye.
Motion carries 5. Yeah, motion carries 5-0. Next item on the agenda is discuss and act on town council resolution regarding Block Island Airport, regional airports, and Rhode Island Airport Corporation's request for proposals regarding Block Island Airport Corporation's requests for proposals regarding Block Island Airport property development. Does this make this a moot item?
I think, if we're ready, I'd like to make a motion.
Go ahead.
I'd make a motion that we direct the town manager to write a short, sweet, and simple resolution so that our state senator and our state representative have it in hand should they need it, that reflects the letter and our tone to the RIAC discussions of potential bid lots 1, 2, 3, 4, etc. for alternate uses to the airport.
I'll second. Discussion?
Oh,
Go ahead.
I was going to say, and other topics, because we discussed all the topics.
Second. Amend second. Any discussion?
Yeah, how can you be against that? My only problem is, didn't you guys do a resolution several years ago?
Yes.
And sadly, there was no real positive result from it. But
That's not true. That's not true. Our delegation helped us enormously with that.
we still didn't get the money, yeah. We still didn't get any of the money, from what I understand.
The resolution, okay.
Yeah.
Sure.
But that's fine, I am for this.
Motion made second. All those in favor? Keith?
Yes.
Mark?
Yes.
I'm in favor. Martha?
I
Motion carries 5-0.
Thank you guys all.
Thank you.
And that'll be public in the week, beginning next week?
Probably sometime.
Or next week?
Next item on the agenda is property negotiations, and this discussion may be held in executive session pursuant to Rhode Island General Law 42465A5. Any discussions or considerations related to the acquisition of real or lease of real property for public purposes or the disposition of publicly held property wherein advanced public information will be detrimental to the interest of the public, and Rhode Island General Laws 4246-5A7, a matter related to the question of the investment of public funds where the premature disclosure would adversely affect the public interest. Public funds shall include an investment plan or matter related thereto, including but not limited to state lottery plans for new promotions. Everyone's gone.
Not Bill, I mean, our two stalwarts.
Well, I understand, but they.
Yeah. Does anybody want to just say something about?
Do we want to go into closed session?
Yes.
Okay. Is there anything to report before going into closed session? No. I'll make a motion to go into closed session.
Second.
Seconded by Sven. All those in favor, Keith?
Yes.
Mark?
Aye.
Martha?
Sven,
Go ahead.
Is there any topic at all this is about, or? Anything there to whether it's to do some.
I would say
Negotiations, or new negotiations.
a couple of us were approached by a family that wanted to sell a piece of property to the town. And we couldn't have a conversation outside the meet, so, you know.
Thank you.
Motion been made, seconded, and motion carries 5-0. We're gonna go into closed session.
sorry, Steve.
I almost forgot how to do that in public.
Where
Where do we go? Right now, we'd just be closing the door in my house.
Just
Thank you.
for the last time we did this, we actually kept everything on here in the open session. And we went in and took another computer, just double check with Molly how we're gonna do this.
Thank you, Steve.
Thanks, Steve. So Molly, can you hear us? Molly?
I'll just go down there.
Because we need to.
What's that?
That's your last time, right?
Yeah, thank you, thank you. Something wrong.
Be sure.
But everything's been working perfectly up until tonight.
Yeah. I
I don't know if it's his computer.
Oh, it's Andre.
Or what? The other thing is, the water and sewer met right before this meeting, I hope they did.
Definitely then. Absolutely. Absolutely. Who's chair of that board now?
I don't know.
It was Brad.
Brad Harkins,
Harkins
isn't it?
was the problem.
Oh, well, for God's sake.
So it's not the video, it's.
Just to make sure we could be live.
Right.
I'm just saying.
My microphone is on.
So last time we went into the vault, right? I mean, honestly, it could be his microphone jack. It's just bad.
I'm gonna try it again once we can come back and have you guys make a motion to adjourn fairly quickly.
So the problem wasn't, it was his computer, not this microphone.
No, I don't think it.
Is that
Hey, does anyone know the answer? Is the fence up at the airport because of the deer?
Supposedly.
Oh, no, I thought it was a 9/11 stuff.
Which fence?
I
The
don't
one
know.
around the whole
The
perimeter.
white one was the deer, the metal one was the 9/11, supposedly.
I know it, that 9/11 was, that's when the big fence went up. Right?
Again.
The wire.
Yeah, and like cutting Bethany's off, even with that.
Okay, now just
Couldn't get it.
leave.
Couldn't get.
Should you have the note?
Okay, you guys are back. You have no sound at all. Can you hear me? You're back with no sound.
Unmute. All right.
Excellent. Can you hear me?
Yeah, that's on your end. It's because when I go to unmute, it tells me the host won't let me unmute, but you just asked me to unmute. So if that happens in the future, just ask me to unmute because I can't do it myself.
There was something else going on because I didn't have the option to ask you to unmute. So,
All right. Thank you.
okay, but we're good now.
All right. I'd like to we're out of closed session. I'd like to make the announcement that no votes were taken. And I'll make a motion to seal the minutes.
Second?
Seconded by second warrant Sven Riesem. All those in favor? Keith?
Yes.
Mark?
Aye.
I'm in favor. Martha?
Aye.
Aye.
And the motion carries 5-0 to seal the minutes.
Clear as we've been all night.
Clear as we've been all night. And I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Second?
Seconded by Sven. All those in favor? So Keith?
Yes.
Mark?
Aye.
Sven?
Aye.
Martha?
Aye.
So nice not have to look at Hollywood Squares to do that. And I'm in favor. Motion carries 5-0 to adjourn.
Molly, can you hear me?
I can hear you a little bit. I can hear you echoey as though you're far away from the mic.
We could really mess with Molly.
I am going to leave my meeting
Thank you,
now.
Molly.
You're welcome. Thank you, everybody.